third test between England and Pakistan begins today at Southampton. And what can Pakistan do to level the series? Remember, they lost the first test match by a whisker. I mean, that was a match which they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. And of course, the second test was completely spoiled by rain. So, what can Pakistan do to square this series, or will they go back home disappointed? Because when you get into a position where you are likely to even not just win the match, but perhaps even the series, and then to see it snatched away from you like that can be extremely dejecting. So look, the momentum is still with England, despite it was like a sparring match. It wasn't a contest in the second test because there was just so much rain. But Pakistan's batting didn't redeem itself in the second test match. Neither did England's. So in this contest, what's emerging, of course, is that both teams have shown a lot of fragility in their batting. England still wobbly, and of course they don't have Ben Stokes. That's a very crucial factor. And Pakistan, of course, barring Shan Masood's splendid 150 in the first test, haven't quite looked capable of building up a score of 350 or something like that from where they can win a match. 350 consistently, because when you play in these conditions overseas, though you've got the bowling arsenal, if you don't have the score, if they don't have a total to defend, then there's not much that they can do. Some hope for Pakistan and England in the batting from the second test. Both Abid Ali and Mohammad Rizwan actually showed a lot of spunk. Abid Ali a lot of application, Rizwan a lot of spunk in pulling the team out of a crisis. And then of course for England, who not that they would have lost the match, but even the batting period that they got, their top order started tumbling, and Zach Crawley made a vital contribution in stemming that rot. Just if nothing else, it redeems his own test career. The selectors are obviously not patient forever, so you have a good substantial knock behind you. It convinces not just your captain and your fellow team members, but also the selectors that I belong to this place. But let's get down to what is likely to happen in this scenario. The match is at Southampton, remember, where West Indies had actually beaten England. So if there's any solace or any succor to be drawn from recent history, Pakistan will look at that match and how West Indies actually turned the tables on England in the first test. I think the bowling attacks of both teams have been quite impressive. England's the more experienced, of course. They've got Anderson, Broad, Chris Wokes and Jofra Archer. And Pakistan have got Shaheen Shah Afridi, Mohammad Abbas, Naseem Abbas and Yasir Shah. So it's a less experienced, the Pakistan bowling attack, but they've actually performed quite admirably. It remains to be seen what combination England plays, because they've been following a rotational policy to give their bowlers some time to recover. The eyes, everybody's attention will be on, I think, James Anderson, seven wickets short of 600 wickets. I mean, that's a formidable landmark to reach, and he's been impressive in this summer. Not picked up as many wickets as Stuart Broad, but he's been impressive, and that's a source of worry actually for Pakistan, because Southampton, where the conditions help swing and seam bowling, Anderson could be very, very dangerous. So let's look at what my picks for this match are. From England, Stuart Broad, he's been in you just cannot suppress him. He's been in irrepressible form this season with the ball, certainly, also sometimes with the bat. And I think more than anything else, it's his josh, this is the fire in his belly which is coming through. James Anderson, as I mentioned, for his vast experience and the fact that he's so close to the landmark of 600 wickets, and then this is the last match of the season, because then he has to wait for a long while to play test matches again, so he'll be eager to reach, if not the mark, as close to it as possible. And I would go with Joe Root, because he's just so experienced, he's such a class act. So these three players from England. From Pakistan, I would go with Babar Azam. Now people might raise an eyebrow and say, what has he done so far? I think he's looked very rich and promising in the batting stints that he's had, without quite making those tall scores that would confirm his stature or his potential. Everybody's been raving and talking about Babar's class, but Babar has to make more than a 47 when he gets the opportunity, as he did in the second test match, or more than the 69 as he did in the first test match, because that's when you've got the bowling at your mercy and you have to go on to make a big score. The other person I would pick from Pakistan for my fifth would be Mohammad Abbas. He's been the most impressive bowler from Pakistan. He may lack the pace, he certainly lacks the pace of Shaheen Shah Afridi and Naseem Shah, but he's very skillful, and he's also got, I think, the experience to make the most of these conditions. So my 5 picks: Stuart Broad, James Anderson, Joe Root, Babar Azam, and Mohammad Abbas.